What's going on, YouTube? Been a little while since I've done anything. I've kind of just been taking a step back to understand how I want to move forward with the documentation that I put out on YouTube and to social media. Um, and I really want to just recognize that I think it'd be way more important for me to document my journey as a trader and as building a company rather than me just posting P&L. Um, I much rather add value to someone who is maybe at a lower point in their trading that sees me and where I'm at, because I do believe that you don't have to be the best to be able to document yourself and give advice, because I believe that there's people that are the next step ahead of you that are trying to get there. So I'm just talking to the people that are below me, not even below me, but just like are starting out. And I think I have advice that I wish I knew when I started. So I think instead of me just posting P&L and posting trade recaps, I really want to document my journey and talk about what I'm going through month to month. So we can start to expect like more trade reviews. I plan on doing a monthly recap of every single month, just going over the things that I've been seeing, the things that have been helping me, the things that have been hurting me as a trader. So hopefully, my advice and my journey can help someone else that is trying to get where I'm at in my point of trading. So, without further ado, let's get into the month of April. So for the month of April, I profited about $2,000 on both my evaluation accounts and my PA accounts. I finished with about a 41% win rate and 1.74 R factor. Um, so when I look at these numbers, I just see that I'm kind of teetering the line of being a break even trader at this point. And I understand that being a break even trader may not seem appealing to some people, but to me, this month was a very great month for me in terms of this was probably my best month ever in terms of like discipline, understanding my data and learning from my data and seeing where I can implement those things into my trading to try and take the next step to my trading career. This month I was really just detail oriented as much as I possibly tried to be. I tried to come into every single day and not look at the dollar value of things and not look at um, the end result of the P&L from the day, but I more so tried to look at things from a perspective of, did I control what I can control? Did I stick to my rules? Did I control my emotions? Things like that. And then I realized that when you control things like that and you work like that, the P&L is just a byproduct of those things. So being able to step into the market every single day and kind of just like detach myself from the money was a really good feeling, and it was a really relaxing feeling in April. And honestly, April of this year was probably the most relaxed that I've felt as a trader. Because before I used to over leverage and only trade the minis. And then this month I looked at the data at the end of March and really started to understand my data. And that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm over leveraging with minis and I'm not putting my stop losses in the correct places. So that means that I need to size down a little bit or have the same stop losses, but just adjust my contract size to where I believe that the trade would be invalidated from a structure thesis rather than just a monetary thesis of like me losing. Once I lose $500, I'm getting out of this trade. Where it should be under this level, I'll get out because then the trade is invalid. Not and that's not based on P&L. So I think that's very important to understand, and understanding that is attributed to me going into my data and understanding those things, because if I'm just going into the market every single day and I'm trading and I'm not writing my pre-market analysis, I'm not doing my post-trade write-ups, I'm not doing my daily report card. I'm not doing my weekly write ups. I'm not doing my monthly write ups. That is just not operating like a business. Because if you're in business and you're starting something, you need to understand everything. You need to understand A to Z, why things are happening, what happens if this happens, what happens if that happens. And it's the same thing with trading. If I'm risking too much money and I'm putting my stop losses in places where the trade isn't invalidated, then that's overall going to hurt the longevity of my career, and I'm going to sustain more paper cuts um, that won't allow me to grow. And that is what I started to work through in April. As you can see, before this month, I was operating around like a one profit factor and a little bit lower of a win percentage. But now I'm starting to work more towards that, uh, two profit factor where I'm starting to get out of the break even phase, which is where I want to be. I want to be around like that two range to understand that I'm making more money for every dollar that I risk. Um, so just understanding that has helped me. And then the other thing that has helped me this month is knowing where my weaknesses and my strengths are. So one of my strengths that I believe to my core is I am very good with my pre-market analysis and understanding where I believe that the market is drawing towards. And when you have kind of a plan and a routine to go and see where things are heading and see what kind of market conditions there are, I believe it helps you 10x as a trader, because you once you make that plan and you understand what you're looking for intraday, you have the ability to remain patient. You can manage your risk better. You can understand if this happens, then this, but if my plan doesn't happen, then I need to adjust or just not trade at all. Um, Part of my growth as a trader throughout the past few years, I would say, is being really good at coming up with detailed plans to take the guessing out of trading as much as possible. Because I figured out early in my career, I would guess so much and I would be in trades and I would be like, okay, I'm in the trade. Now where's my profit target? Or now I'm in the trade, where should I put my stop loss at? Whereas if you come into the day every single day with a pre-market plan, and I've talked about this in other videos as well, if you have a pre-market plan every single day, it takes out the guessing. You get more confident in your trading. You take away the anxiety and the nervousness of not knowing what's going to happen. Whereas if you have that pre-market plan and you write up a detailed report of what you expect to happen, you can execute without hesitation. Um, because once your plan presents itself and once you have the proper confirmations, the only thing left to do is to enter the trade and then trade your plan. Like, that is it. And that is something that has helped me relax, as well as with the proper risk management. That is what attributed to April probably being the most relaxed I've felt as a trader ever, like in my career. So I'm very happy to uh, have figured that out, and I'm looking forward to keep on expanding on that. When you expand on those things and you start to understand, what you're looking for every single day, it helps you control what you can control. Because I think a big part of being a trader is being reactive and not anticipating things, because you can see things that are starting to play out. And this is where I kind of catch myself sometimes, and why I start to have this one profit factor or a lower win rate is because I start to anticipate things instead of being reactive. Where it's like, for example, we could be bullish on the day, and then I want to see a sweep of sell side liquidity first, and then take the trade long after I see all of my proper entry confirmations. But sometimes what I'll do is I'm so anxious and so nervous about missing the trade, or the trade running without me, then I will either enter early without proper confirmations, or I'll chase and end up having to have a way wider of a stop loss, which will make me what I tend to do is I'll try and keep my stop loss at a okay risk level, which doesn't invalidate the thesis. And this back again goes to talking about like, proper risk management and making plans of your trading day. So when you do these things, you learn how to control what you can control, and the main thing that you can control is making your plan and then remaining patient for your plan to play out. So with that being said, the next thing that really helped me in the month of April was really diving deep into understanding my data, and we can go into my reports. And I just want to kind of set the record straight with what I'm trying to do moving forward. Is like I want to be very transparent with my data. I want to work. I want to show what's been working for me, show what hasn't been working for me, how I'm expanding on my career. And a part of that is being very transparent with the data and understanding your data. Towards the end of March, I started following and kind of trying to take after a lot of the great traders that are in this space. And the one thing that I noticed with pretty much all of them are extremely, extremely, extremely detail oriented. They track every little thing. They track everything, just how you should in a business. They track their sleep. They do their daily report cards for their pre-market routine. They write up their pre-market analysis. They do their post-trade analysis. They understand their data and where they can improve most. And then they expand on these things. So the one thing that I decided to do in April was I tried to be the most detail oriented person that I could be with understanding this data and then implementing it into my trading. So a couple of the things that I looked for going into the month and to finish this month, and that I wrote a trade review on, or my monthly recap on, was my average winning trade, my average losing trade, the number of trades overall, my largest profit, my largest loss. I look at the average winning day P&L, and I look at the average losing day P&L. And then as well as I look at my win percentage and my profit factor. And the two things that stand out to me just looking at this report in April is that my profit factor is starting to climb towards that 2 profit factor, which is something that I'm happy about, because when I start to get into that 2 profit factor, I know that I'm starting to teeter the line of being that profitable trader, and that's something where I would like to be, somewhere where I would like to be. Also, diving deep into my data this month is I can be better at letting my winners run, because it's very important for me, if I have a lower win percentage on my trades, that when I have a winner, I need to squeeze out pretty much all the profits that I can, because I know sometimes I have been taking premature entries and having paper cuts. So where if I let's just say I have a trade where the profit target for me, just speaking numerically, if the profit target is me gaining and rewarding $500, but I cut my trade and it's only at $200, which is my risk, while I'm operating at about 1-to-1, then that will possibly hurt me in my future trades when I take a loss. So like, let's say I take that trade, I exit prematurely and I only take a $200 win, and then my next trade the next day, I take a $200 loss. Instead of me having a $300 buffer because I took the $200 loss and I cut my trade early the previous day, then that is where I start seeing the 1-to-1 profit factor, the low win rate percentage. That's where these things start to affect my trading overall, and overall my like growth as a trader. So knowing the profit factor and knowing the R multiple and my win rate are something that I'm like very, very much in tune with at this point. For the longest time, I was operating like I would make a little bit of money, then lose a little bit of money, then make a little bit of money. And when I was making money, I felt like I was doing the right things. But in trading, it might be one of the only places where you can make money by doing the wrong things, and it comes back to bite you. And sometimes even when you lose money and you're doing the right things, those habits that you're doing that are right while you're losing money can help you further down the line in your trading career. So I feel like previously, before this month, I was just operating where I was doing the right things, but and they were hurting me, or not hurting me, but making me a break even trader. Whereas understanding this data, I understand that I need to let my winners run, and um, then that could possibly help me become a profitable trader. So, with that being said, and me understanding my data and looking at things like this, I want to take you into a trade that I took in April, where it was an instance where I had a plan in the pre-market. The plan started to play out, but I just cut it early, and I want to show you why you should just let your full plan play out, whether it's a win, loss, break even trade, because you could possibly catch things like this. Um, so it was an NQ long where I was expecting a relief bounce after the large sell off that happened in the morning. I wanted to see sell side liquidity swept and then a retracement back into at least 50% of the range of the sell off, or back to test the underside of the sell side liquidity from the London low. And this is just kind of like what I go through in all of my plans. Like, these are the write ups that I have every single month, um, or every single trade. And having trades like having write ups like this, and you really get into the detail of why things happen, and what you were looking for, and how your emotions were during the trade. These kind of things help out. So this was the sweep of sell side liquidity on the 5 minute that we had going into the daily fair value gap and into an uptrend, um, or while in an uptrend on the higher time frames. I wanted to see a sweep of sell side, possibly into the daily fair value gap, to then go move higher. And this is just a trade where I started to overmanage, overreact to things by looking on a smaller time frame while I'm already in the trade, and then it resulted in me missing a large runner. Like, I took this off at the 19 like 295 area, where this intermediate term buy side level was, but this ended up running all the way to 19485. First 402 and then 19485. Where in my plan, I had plans to scale at 402 and then to leave a runner for 48 to 485. So because I cut this trade early, I ended up only having a $116 winner when it should have been a lot larger. So my planned R multiple was 208. The initial target was $359, but because I cut it early, my realized R multiple was only less than one, and I ended up only getting $116.10 out of this trade. So to see things like this really put things into perspective of, like, okay, like, I need to let my trades play out more, because if I'm confident in my higher time frame analysis and I know what I'm looking for in my entry confirmations, like I said earlier, the only thing to do is to let the trade play out. So this was a winner that I had, but not a trade that I was like very proud of. And in my notes, I write about all the things that I was going through, and all the things that I think I need to improve on. And I think that's what every trader needs to do, is just be very detail oriented about their work and obsess over their work. Um, so having all of that in mind and all of this in mind, that is where I started to go in the process of meta learning. And that is something that I want to talk about in the next part of this video. So, as far as meta learning to me is focusing on the correct things and being able to accelerate your learning curve, because you're focusing on things that have the highest return on investment. Like, for the longest time, I would focus on, let's just say, like, my psychology. Whereas my psychology as a trader and as a person is something that I'm good at as well. So that's something that I don't really need to just continue to focus on. I always thought that I was losing trades because I had bad psychology, when really, after going into the data, my psychology wasn't the reason why I'm a break even trader. The reason why I'm a break even trader is because I was having premature entries and I needed to work on my entry confirmation. So when you're breaking down this data, you're able to compile a list of things that you need to work on, and then you can look at this list and be like, okay, out of this list, what is going to return me the highest rate of investment? And for me, that was learning about my entry confirmations and my timing. So something that I started to do was I put out a schedule on my Google Calendar, and I was like, on these days, on this time, I am going to back test for an hour, 2 hours, and just look at different kinds of entry confirmations. I'm going to look at previous trades that worked out really, really well and kind of reverse engineer them. Like, why did they work out? Why didn't they work out? And looking at things like this and focusing on something that is going to return me a great deal of investment on my time is going to in turn allow me to accelerate as a trader because I'm focusing on the right things. Um, Sometimes we focus on things that just like don't really move the needle as far as our career. And I think that's very, very important because if you're just constantly focusing on things throughout the year that aren't really important, at the end of the year, you kind of just did a bunch of nothing. Whereas if I'm focusing on something that is going to return greatly from me focusing on it, at the end of the year, if I'm putting in 1% and I'm putting in these deposits and making it a daily habit to do this every single day, at the end of the year, who knows where I could be, but I know it's going to be further than where I would be if I was just focusing on things that aren't really moving the needle to make my career trader as a trader better. So I'll show you something that I've been working on as a trader. Every single day I do a daily report card. At the end of every single week, I do a daily write up, or I do a weekly write up, and at the end of every single month, I do a monthly write up. And I'll just start with the daily report card. Uh, the thing that I go through is I will look at at the end of every single day, I'll go through this, or at the beginning of every single day, I will go through this and just fill out everything and be as detail oriented as I possibly can be. I'll go through my goals through the day, and typically my goal every single day is something that will, again, return the highest investment as a trader for my time. So right now, my goal is to become very good at timing my entries. So I'll have my goal for the day, and then I'll have my pre-market routine. I'll have what I did going through my process, my executions, my psychology. What did I do well? What can I improve on? What did I learn? And then it's kind of just the same thing for all of the monthly reports as well, where it's very detail oriented, and this is something that I go through in my daily report card as well. I'll go through every single thing and look and just sit down for like an hour or 2 hours and just look at everything, like everything. What is hurting me as a trader at the moment, and what is the thing that I can fix right now that I can use to help me become a better trader. So, and you only see those things by going through the data and writing detailed reports and writing everything down. It's one thing to have it up in your head, but to have it written down and going through everything, that is what really can excel your career. And I think it's also important to know that when you find these things that you need to work on, I think it's very, very, very important to understand that sometimes these things may come over a week, they may come over a month, it may take an entire year. And that leads me to my next point of like delayed gratification, where social media right now, especially in the trading space, is a lot of people posting P&Ls, a lot of people posting a luxury lifestyle, somewhere that you want to be like right now, but that's not the case. It's not the reality. But and that's something that I can't control. But what I can control is coming into the day, controlling my risk, controlling my emotions, just controlling the things that I can control. And if I continue to put in these habits every single day and just get 1% better, and continue to dig deep and find out what are my disadvantages and what's drawing me back as a trader, if I can figure out these things and then hammer them home consistently, then that eventually down the line will have me, having bigger P&L, being able to upgrade my lifestyle, being able to provide for whoever is in my life. Um, those things all start with the small things that you do today. And it's very important to know and understand the proper things to focus on. Because if you're just waking up every single day and you are, just going about things willy nilly and having like no specific plan and no specific like intention, then that's when things start to become break even or they start to plateau. Um, so kind of a rant, but those are the things that have just been like helping me this month and previous months, like April. April was a 2K month. Like I said, the beginning of the month is a little bit inflated because I was risking about $500 per trade, and then the end of the month was kind of like where I'm going to start being at, where I'm risking around like $150 to $200 per trade, because I know that if I'm building up this account and building a buffer on the account, um, as I go down the line, I'll be able to risk more. But like I said, I'm not worried about like the instant gratification right now. I know that if I focus on my risk management and I'm focused on risking $150 to $200 a day, and I'm getting 2R and I'm letting my winners run 2R on a $250 investment, and if it runs more, if you do that a couple of times a month and you manage your losers well, then that's a good career. Especially if you're able to down the line up your size and start having bigger winners, with more size. That's how you really build the foundation of a career like this. So that's truly just what I'm focused on. That's truly what these YouTube videos are going to start being about. They're really just going to be about the foundation and how to excel as a trader and how to understand like what you're looking at to expand your career. So overall, April was a great month. Looking to continue to expand on these habits going into May and the rest of the year, and just seeing where we end up, at the end of the month, like, or at the end of the year. Like, I have my goals, but I am focused on the habits that are going to make me reach those goals at this point. So that's my month of April. If you guys have any questions, if you want to reach out about anything, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to help. I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of the daily report card and a template of the monthly and weekly reports that I write. So if you're interested in these things, just shoot me a message on Instagram and I'll be able to send you that. But I'm glad I was able to walk through this with you guys. Hopefully you guys learned something, and I will talk to you guys next time.